Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining today's webinar presented by Castos and the Stepaway Experience. Today, we're talking about creating a private podcast and getting over the fear that creating a private podcast is going to take a lot of production work, a lot of critical thinking, a lot of storytelling. All of that can be put to the side when you look at the content that you already have internally in your organization. And today, we're going to focus on what you're already doing with Zoom and replace Zoom with Microsoft Teams or whatever favorite video web conferencing software you're already using. As long as it records, you can use that content, repurpose that content to create a private podcast. And there's a bonus here. We're going to dive right into today's webinar right now. If you ever have any questions, shoot us an email, hello@castos.com. We'll be sure to answer those for you. And I say that there's a special bonus here because what we found is when you use Zoom recordings, your meetings, as the source of your private podcast, one, it takes all the critical thinking out of it. You don't have to really think about creating a new show and all this creative work. You're simply taking this utility that you've already made and shipping it off to podcast players. And we'll dive deeper into that as the webinar goes along. But two, what we say is asynchronous meetings. You can now make Zoom calls optional. No longer do you have to have your team, your staff, your employees, your organization be on every single Zoom call if they can't make it. And it's a sort of a mindset shift where you're giving your team the option to say, okay, look, if you can't make this meeting, don't worry. We're going to ship the recording of it right to your phone, right into your favorite podcast player or the Castos app, which you'll learn about in a moment. All right. So it's a sort of a double header here. You got two different sort of thought processes you can follow along here. Turn Zoom meetings into a private podcast. This is a use case for a few apps, Castos included, for using Zoom, Descript, and us here at Castos. I'm going to tell you why Descript is so powerful in this for this use case. You don't have to use it, but it certainly makes your life a whole heck of a lot easier. And if easy is what you're looking for, you're in the right place. Why private podcasting? It's a mobile-first approach, right? Podcasting, audio, you take it on the go. Everyone has the mobile phone. Everyone has a podcast app. Tons of people listening to podcasts, obviously, these days, and you can take it on the go. It's asynchronous. It's what we call the step-away experience. So if you are having this remote work shift in your organization, you want to give your employees sort of a distraction-free zone to work and to consume content. Podcast is a great way to create a step-away experience. Get away from the computer, listen to the meeting on the go for a jog, go for a walk, get away from the desk and move around. Give them the option to listen to that audio. Audio is easier than video. Hands down, audio is just faster to share. It's faster to create. It's easier to store. The files are smaller. And you can move this stuff around a lot easier than coming up with a video webinar recording of every meeting that you're having. Cost effective. It's a sort of trickle down effect there is because all of this stuff is just easier to move around and store. Podcasting, a whole heck of a lot more affordable than creating this rich video learning management system that you might be looking at now or some kind of SharePoint intranet. Way easier and way more cost affordable. Your employees and your team, they already have access and the tools to do this stuff. You already have access because most folks have an Apple Podcast player, a Google Podcast player on their mobile phones. And those that already listen to podcasts, they already have their favorite app. So you're shipping your audio, your meetings right into what they already have. And if they don't have it, you can use the Castos app for free here at Castos. You're giving your employees options. We've already covered that. And creating this content is much easier than you think. And that's what we're going to cover as we progress. So your team will love this. This is something that your team will love, your executive team will love, and your decision makers will love because number one, you're able to skip meetings. Look, you're giving folks the option to say, don't worry about hitting this meeting. It's going to be shipped to your podcast players and you can listen to it then if this is a non-critical asynchronous meeting that they can attend. Also fantastic for training and enablement teams. So if you are putting out audio form training, long form audio training, you can ship that into a private podcast. There's no limit here. And for enablement, sales enablement, success enablement, you can send these quick audio bites without all of the, overhead of a long form production. You can send these audio bites right out to your sales team while they're on the go. They can learn about the latest feature coming down the pipe from the product team, and they know how to interact with the customer once they start to use that feature. Or you can relive the town hall. Who doesn't want to relive the town hall? Maybe at 2x speed, but we won't tell anybody that. You can repurpose the town hall meetings, the motivational speeches, the OKR objectives. You can have that in a podcast. You use it as an archive, and whenever you want somebody to get a refresher, boom, you hit play in the town hall podcast that you've created. It's very flexible, and again, sky's the limit with what you can do with an audio podcast at Castos. So look, when we talk to folks about private podcasting, they love the idea, but immediately they say, I don't know how to put on an NPR style show for my team, nor do I have the resources, the time, the money to do that. Think about this critical creative piece. Don't worry, the content is already there, and for 90% of us, it's in a Zoom meeting, it's a Microsoft Team meeting, Skype call, whatever it is. Hit record on your Zoom meeting so that your coworkers who can't make it can listen to this stuff later, or you repurpose it into a training program like we just talked about. You can convert your old training videos into audio files. And again, the town halls that you have, maybe you don't have to record the whole thing. Maybe you don't want to replay the entire warm-up and pre-show of a town hall. You just want to slice and dice and mash up just the good parts of a town hall and take what was a 2-hour long webinar into a half an hour. Again, audio, fantastic, very pliable for situations like this. Okay, easy as 1, 2, 3. Here's the apps that you need when you're using your Zoom meetings to record a podcast. Of course, we're talking about Zoom today. We're talking about how everyone's using Zoom. It's right there in front of you. We're already creating the content. We just want to repurpose it. So, of course, you can get Zoom to host your meetings, your town halls, your podcast interviews. If you have a marketing team, they might already be using Zoom to record their marketing and public-facing podcasts. You can use the same for your private podcast that you're using to send to your team. Descript. This might be new for many of you in the audience. Descript is a fantastic tool to edit your audio. That's the next thing that comes into play. Is like, wow, man, do I have to get all this equipment? Do I have to get all this software to record a podcast? Well, the answer is you can get some higher-end audio software if you want, but let's use Zoom because we already have it. The team already uses it. And the next question is, how do I edit all this stuff? I'm not an audio engineer, nor am I, by the way. Descript. What it does is it takes an audio file, turns it into text, and then when you edit, you're just editing words. You'll see that in a second here. You're just editing words with Descript. And that makes editing time, sharing the stuff out to a team of people way easier. You don't have to be an audio engineer to do this stuff. And bonus is that we integrate right into Descript. Inside of Descript, you can send your private podcast right to Castos, right to a private podcast account here at Castos, and you can publish your episode in seconds. So you take that recording from Zoom, you plop it into Descript. Descript turns it into a text file. You start editing it up, you clean it up, and you publish directly to your Castos private podcasting app, where we control the private podcast for your organization. Let's just take a moment and understand what a private podcast is technically. So technically, you might be subscribing to public podcasts now. You totally understand the concept. You search on Apple, you find a podcast, you put it in your mobile phone, you listen to it when you commute to work or when you're cleaning the house. Private podcasts are not found publicly. They're not in Apple. They're not in Spotify. They're your own private feed that you have at your company, and each employee, team member, has a unique link that gets the episodes sent to them, which means if your employees ever leave the company, transition teams, you can disable that link so they will never get another podcast episode again, which is a great way to control, the fire hose of content that you might be putting out, or if somebody leaves the company, they will no longer get a private podcast from you. So you have that granular control to manage that for your team. And that's what makes it really powerful here at Castos. You can produce a private podcast in minutes. Like we've said, or like I've said over and over so far, record in Zoom, download your audio recordings, throw them into Descript, edit that in Descript through text, very easy, and then publish directly to Castos. Here's a few tips for Zoom. Are there better pieces of software out there for recording high-end podcast shows? Certainly. And we can make those recommendations to you if you're running a public podcast or if you want to step up in production quality. But here's what you can do in Zoom is set Zoom to high quality, set your audio to use original audio to capture better recordings. And there's some other options inside Zoom to make your audio quality even better. But generally, when you turn on original sound, it's recording at a higher grade of quality. That is step one if you want to take it up a notch to have better audio sound. You don't even have to do that if you don't want to, but that's one tip that you can do. And just know that you can tune Zoom to have better audio quality. And then two, when you record your meetings to the cloud, you can download just the audio. So even if you do run video conferences and videos are being recorded, you can download just the audio file. So that'll be way faster and much easier for you to store and save on your computer and then eventually upload to Descript. So those two things, set the audio quality a little bit higher in Zoom if you want to, and make sure you're only downloading the audio version of your meeting. That'll save you a bunch of time and a bunch of disk space. We're not going to go too deep into Descript today, but this is a screenshot of Descript. And as you can see the waveform down below, and that's generally what you would get from the older sort of audio editing tools. You know, if you don't have text, you don't have words, you just have this waveform and you're looking at it and you think, am I launching a spaceship here? Like, what do I have to do in this audio editing tool? Well, Descript, you can see it turns it all into text. And I've highlighted this first paragraph, or this first sentence in a paragraph. I can delete that with a keystroke. I can modify it. I can find the most important parts of a conversation. So if you wanted to clean up a meeting and just get to the good stuff, like, you know that the first 5-10 minutes is everyone sort of just getting ready. Everyone's checking into the meeting. People are talking about, what they did on Halloween or whatever, getting ready for the holidays. Cut all that out and bring it down right to the meat of the meeting so that when you save this and export it to Castos, the folks who've missed the meeting, for whatever reason, or maybe giving them that option to consume it later, they just get the good stuff. And this is a time saver. This is a productivity enhancer. There's a lot of good that can come out of being able to repurpose your meetings. It saves everyone time and energy. It's really easy, Descript. And there's a whole bunch of other things you can do with Descript, but for audio editing and for the podcast, this is all you really need to focus on. And then once you're ready to publish your episode, you clean it up, you're ready to go. That's all you really have to do is just clean up the stuff that you want to clean up. And then we have a link right inside of Descript. You can publish directly to your Castos account. We have documentation on how to set that up. We can help you set that up. It's very easy. You connect the two accounts together, Descript and Castos, and then you can publish directly to your Castos account. And as soon as you publish, you're sending the audio to your team. There's no wait time. There's no will it show up in Apple or Spotify. No, it goes directly out there into your team's phones or mobile devices or whatever they use to listen to podcasts. And you can give them the option, like I've said before at the top of the webinar, you can give them the option to subscribe to the podcast on any app that they already listen to podcasts using RSS feed. They have to copy and paste a special link, and they can do that, and we have documentation. We can certainly help you do that. But you can broadcast it directly to their podcast players, or you can use the Castos mobile podcast app, which allows your employees to sign in with just their email address, and there's no sending of a link. They just have to install this app, again, on iOS or Google, and they can just log into their account and see all of the podcasts that you have set up for them. Maybe your sales team has the sales enablement series of audio. Your product team has a series of audio. Your CEO and C-suite team have their show. It's just all there in a nice distraction-free zone, which is the Castos app. Again, it's for free. Or we can white label it for you. If you are on one of our enterprise plans, we can put your logo, your color scheme, and just really make it close to your brand as possible, and even connect up to your single sign-on services. Now, there is a bonus item. We won't cover it today, but as far as I've said, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. It's record in Zoom, download that, send it to Descript, publish to Castos. You can automate this to make your life a little bit easier if you're using an automation tool like Zapier, and that would take your files immediately from Zoom without you having to log in and download it, and send that right over to your Descript account without you even having to touch it. It's all automated. If you want to learn more about that, certainly book a time with our success team and we can walk you through that. That's even more of a time saver. You can make your life of creating a private podcast even easier. Okay, that's it for today. If you have any questions, we'll answer them in the chat as soon as I close this window. If you are watching this after, please send us an email, hello@castos.com. Creating a private podcast is a lot easier than you think. And what we like to do is, look, if you're getting into this market of creating a podcast, using audio, using asynchronous meetings, creating a step-away experience for your team, you're really getting into enriching your employees' work experience through remote work, through the step-away experience. It doesn't get any easier than this. You're already having the meetings. You're already recording them with Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Take that, send it over to your private podcast at Castos. Create a dozen. We'd love you to produce and create a dozen private podcasts to ship off to your employees. It doesn't matter. If you have 100 employees, 10 employees, 10,000 employees, we can support you here at Castos. Send us an email, hello@castos.com. Learn more at castos.com. Check us out. We'd love to help you. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching the webinar, and we'll jump into answering any questions right now.